A little girl sat alone at gate 9 holding a sign that said, "Wait for Mom." Minutes later, a delivery man reached out his hand, and a trained K9 went ballistic. He broke his leash, ignored his handler, and exposed something no one saw coming. It started like any other morning at the airport. Coffee-fueled, fast-moving, and tightly orchestrated. Former FBI agent Harper Wynn, now head of airport security, moved through the terminal with her partner Blitz at her side. The Belgian Malinois was more than a K9 unit. He was a survivor, a veteran of field operations across borders, trained to detect explosives, narcotics, and danger no human eye could see. But today, something was different. Blitz's pace was off. His steps, usually in sync with Harper's, turned sharp and uneven. His ears twitched back, then forward. His nose lifted slightly, sniffing, not like routine patrol, but with urgency. He let out a low, almost inaudible growl that vibrated through his chest. Harper glanced down. "What is it, boy?" she whispered, though she already knew the answer. Something was wrong. They continued past the baggage claim into the main corridor. Families wheeled suitcases, flight crews chatted with coffee in hand. Everything looked normal, but Blitz disagreed. His body was tense, every muscle wound tight like a spring. Harper tightened her grip on the leash. The connection between handler and dog was more than training. It was trust, and Blitz was never wrong. As they neared gate 9, his posture changed. He slowed, then braced. His hackles rose. He refused to move forward until Harper gave in and let him lead. That's when she felt it. Not a sound, not a sight, but a shift. An unease that settled deep in her chest. Blitz pulled left toward the seating area where travelers waited quietly. He wasn't barking. He wasn't aggressive. He was listening, watching, smelling something Harper couldn't name, but somehow he knew. To anyone else, it looked like a routine patrol. But to Harper, this was a moment suspended in warning. Blitz wasn't reacting, he was predicting, and that terrified her more than anything she could see. Blitz's sudden shift in behavior wasn't just a reaction, it was a direction. He pulled Harper toward the waiting area at gate 9, weaving through the line of passengers with single-minded focus. His growl, low and steady, rumbled like distant thunder. Harper followed, her eyes scanning, adrenaline sharpening her senses. And that's when she saw her. A little girl, maybe 8 years old, sat curled on the end of a metal bench. She wore an oversized denim jacket and scuffed red sneakers. Her blonde hair was tied in uneven pigtails, and in her lap she clutched a wooden-framed chalkboard with smudged white letters. "Wait for Mom here." She was utterly still, no phone, no stuffed animal, no distractions. Just wide searching eyes and that message written in a child's shaky hand. Harper's heart ached. She knew the look, alone but trying to be brave. Before Harper could step closer, a man in a brown courier uniform appeared from the left, moving quickly but not enough to draw alarm. He was tall, mid-30s, with neat hair and mirrored sunglasses. A laminated badge swung from his chest. He knelt beside the girl, smiling gently. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said, his voice soft and warm. "Your mom sent me. She got held up at security and asked me to come get you. She's just a few gates away." The girl blinked at him, her fingers curled tighter around the board. Blitz froze. Harper stopped behind a nearby column, listening, watching. Her hand hovered near her radio. The man extended his hand. "It's okay, I'm with the airport staff. See?" He tapped the badge on his chest. "Let's go find Mom." The girl didn't move. She couldn't speak. That much Harper could tell now. But something behind her eyes shifted, like her instincts were whispering what her voice never could. Slowly, she slid off the bench. One hand gripped her chalkboard. The other hesitated, trembling in the air as it reached toward the stranger's outstretched palm. And then Blitz erupted. The bark that exploded from his throat was not trained or rehearsed. It was raw, deep, an animal roar of certainty. He lunged forward, nearly ripping Harper's arm from its socket, his teeth bared, his eyes locked on the man like he just scented death itself. The man flinched. Harper's heart slammed against her ribs. "Blitz, heel!" she commanded, but the dog wouldn't budge. The girl froze. Every nearby head turned. Travelers paused mid-step. Conversations died mid-word. Blitz growled again, louder this time, feral, urgent, unrelenting. And in that instant, Harper no longer cared about protocol. She didn't need a warrant or a reason. She looked into Blitz's eyes and saw one terrifying truth. He knew. The man tried to smile, raising both palms. "Everything's fine," he said with a nervous chuckle. "I was just helping her." But Harper had already drawn her badge. "No, sir," she said, stepping in between him and the girl. "You need to stay right where you are." Harper kept her eyes on the man as she lifted her radio. Her voice was calm, clipped. "Control, I need a verification on a courier badge ID 342 Delta, requesting immediate confirmation." She didn't look away. Neither did Blitz. The man shifted slightly, the kind of movement that barely registered, but Blitz responded like lightning. His growl turned into sharp, furious barks, snapping through the air like thunder. Passengers began backing away. A woman nearby clutched her purse tighter. A child whimpered. Tension rippled through the terminal like a sudden drop in pressure. The man's smile faltered. "You sure you want to cause a scene?" he said, his tone flattening. Harper didn't answer. Her hand hovered just inches from her holster. Blitz tugged hard again, his body vibrating with warning. He wasn't confused. He wasn't uncertain. He was ready. Control crackled through her earpiece. "That ID doesn't exist. Repeat, badge number invalid." And then it happened. The man lunged. He grabbed Lila's wrist and yanked her with shocking force. The child stumbled forward, the chalkboard slipping from her grasp. Harper shouted, "Stop!" But it was Blitz who moved first. In one fluid motion, he tore free from Harper's grip and launched into the air. His body collided with the man's shoulder. Teeth sank into fabric and flesh. The man screamed, twisted, lost his grip on Lila. She fell to the floor, gasping. Blitz held on, dragging the man sideways until Harper tackled him from behind. Security officers rushed in. The man hit the tile hard. A fake badge skittered across the floor. His bag flew open, revealing duct tape, burner phones, a wig. He wasn't a courier. He wasn't airport staff. He was a predator in uniform. Blitz released his grip, circling back to Lila, who was now sitting upright, trembling but safe. She picked up her chalkboard, her hands shaking as she wrote something slowly, deliberately. Harper leaned in to read it. This dog knew the truth. She swallowed hard, her throat thick with emotion. The suspect lay face down, wrists cuffed tight behind his back, blood seeping through the shredded sleeve where Blitz had sunk his teeth. Harper stood over him, chest heaving, as two officers secured the scene. The man didn't speak. He didn't struggle. He just stared coldly at the floor, like it was all routine. But what they found in his bag was anything but. A black duffel lay half-zipped on the ground, its contents now exposed. 3 burner phones with removed SIM cards, rolls of duct tape, a wig, a surgical mask, gloves, a small bottle of chloroform. And beneath it all, photos. Children, 5 of them. Different airports, different dates. One of them was Lila. Harper felt something inside her go cold. The faces looked straight into the lens, some confused, some frightened. None of them older than 10. An officer opened a side pocket and froze. "Ma'am," he said quietly, holding up a bundle of forged airport credentials, each with a different name, different face, same badge number. A chill swept through Harper's spine. She knelt beside the suspect, pulling back the collar of his uniform. That's when she saw it. A small, crude tattoo inked just below the hairline on his neck, a broken hourglass with a black flame curling out of it. Harper's breath caught. She knew that symbol. So did every agent in Homeland Security. It was the mark of the Silence Circuit, a human trafficking network specializing in mute, disabled, and nonverbal children. Kids who couldn't scream, couldn't report, couldn't tell anyone what had happened to them. To most, they disappeared without ever making a sound. He had no real name in the system, no known address. His fingerprints were scorched, intentionally erased. This man was a ghost, and Lila had been his next victim. A few feet away, the little girl sat on the floor, still holding her chalkboard. She didn't cry, she didn't blink, she just stared ahead, stunned and motionless. Blitz approached her slowly and sat down beside her, his body relaxed but alert, his presence a wall of safety. Lila dropped the board and wrapped both arms around the dog's thick neck. She pressed her face into his fur and held on like she'd never let go. Harper watched in silence. Her throat tightened. She crouched beside them, resting a hand on Blitz's back. "You solved this," she whispered, voice barely audible, "before any of us even knew there was a crime." And in that moment, Harper didn't see a K-9 unit. She saw a guardian. The crowd had thinned, but the tension still clung to the air like smoke after a fire. Officers moved with quiet urgency, taping off the scene near Gate 9. Passengers murmured in small clusters, pointing, whispering, wondering what had just unfolded in front of them. Most would never know the full story. Harper stood just outside the circle, her hands still resting on Blitz's back. Lila remained curled against the dog, eyes glassy, arms locked around his neck like he was the only anchor keeping her from drifting away. And then a voice cut through the noise. "Lila!" It was cracked, panicked, breathless. A woman, mid-30s, in a wrinkled blouse and broken heels, burst through the crowd like a storm breaking a dam. Her carry-on dropped to the floor, forgotten. Her eyes locked onto the little girl in an instant, and everything else disappeared. "Lila!" she cried again, falling to her knees and pulling the child into her arms. Tears poured down her cheeks. "Oh my God, baby, I'm here, I'm so sorry." Lila didn't speak. She couldn't. But she held on, and then, just for a moment, she turned her head and reached back toward Blitz. Her hand found his fur. She tugged gently, pulling him into the hug. The woman's gaze followed, and when her eyes met Blitz's, something in her crumbled. Gratitude, awe, disbelief. She didn't have words either. She didn't need them. Blitz sat still, ears soft, eyes alert, as if he knew the reunion wasn't complete without him. Later, in the sterile quiet of the incident room, Harper typed her official report. She detailed the suspect's fake credentials, the weapons in the bag, the mark of the trafficking ring. She wrote about the photos, the evidence, the way Blitz refused to obey. And then near the bottom of the page, she paused. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard. She thought of the growl that started it all, the bark that pierced the lie, the child who couldn't scream, and the dog who did it for her. She typed one final line. Blitz didn't follow protocol. He followed something greater, his heart. The next morning, the story had gone viral. K9 hero saves mute girl from airport abduction. Security dog breaks rules, saves life. Photos of Blitz filled every feed. Some called for medals, others called for evaluations. There were questions about training, about control, about command structures. But Lila didn't care about any of that. She visited the security office with her mother, holding a new chalkboard in her hands. She'd written only one thing. "He heard me." And in the stillness that followed, Harper knew the truth. Some heroes don't wear badges. Some don't speak, some just act, driven by something deeper than orders, and the world is better for it. Instinct is the first language of truth, and for a dog, it's the only one that matters. In a world built on badges, rules, and protocols, it's easy to believe that order alone keeps us safe. But sometimes what saves a life isn't a system. It's a heartbeat, a growl, a decision made not by logic, but by love. Because some cries for help aren't loud. Some danger wears pressed collars and fake credentials. Some evil doesn't shout, it whispers behind a friendly smile. But not to him. To Blitz, truth doesn't need proof. It has a scent. It has a rhythm. It moves in the way a child trembles before they speak, or the moment a hand hesitates before harm. And in that moment, when everyone else waited for certainty, he acted on something purer, instinct born from loyalty. He didn't wait for the green light. He didn't ask for permission. He just knew. And in knowing, he became more than a protector. He became the voice for a little girl who had none. He became a shield, a scream, a savior. Blitz didn't just stop a kidnapping. He stopped silence from swallowing another soul. And perhaps the most remarkable part? He'll never understand the headlines. He won't read the articles. He'll wag his tail and wait for the next patrol, asking for nothing. But we'll remember. Not because he wore a cape, but because he didn't need one. Because in a world full of noise, he heard the silence and answered it. That day, a dog didn't just save a child. He saved our belief in something we often forget, that loyalty, love, and instinct still know how to speak.